The grind has been real. This deck, I was right. Probably the top three, if not best deck in the game right now. Now, it's Vigar Senna. If you didn't know that, here you are. This deck crushes. Now, let me explain how the deck generally tends to win. Technically, you just win with Vigar getting darkness. It doesn't matter when, it just matters that you get Vigar flipped and then you can do stuff, right? This is a controlled deck that is not really too slow. So that's what makes it really interesting, is that you have a decent early game to trade and apply pressure. Then in the later game, you can really start to utilize darkness, which is deal 2 damage to an enemy, which is slow, and this gets manipulated a lot, and you can kind of just control the board and win the game. Now, there's a lot of ways this happens, so I'm just going to walk through the deck, so then you can kind of see how the deck kind of plays out. First off, we have Burgeoning Sentinel. If you slay, it becomes a 3/3 with Fear. You could do this as soon as turn 2, and that's why it's pretty good. Go Hard. If you don't know what Go Hard does, it's probably one of the most fair purples I've ever seen. It's drain 1. If you do it 3 times, you get Pack Your Bags, which is freaking stupid. Deals 5 to all enemies and the Nexus, and then everything goes back to Go Hard. So you could do this multiple times in a game, but normally once is enough. It's pretty ridiculous. If you don't have this in your Shadow Isles deck, you should try to do it. This card's insane. Autopus? I don't know. Prank. Prank is such a good card because it basically just shows you 2 cards in their hand generally, and you then get to nerf them. So, great control card. And these are all 1-drops, right? This is turn 1 options, and I normally don't like having this much turn 1 options, but they're all really good and really good counters to a lot of stuff people plays. Next, we have Dark Bulb Acolyte, which is Summons the Darkness. Having this turn 2, having a Darkness Ray on turn 3 is generally pretty good. It is a kind of feels bad to use Darkness turn 3, but, you know, if you need to, 2 damage towards Vigar, you only need 10 more for him to level up. Now, we have Twisted Catalyzer. Every time he strikes, get 1 extra damage. This dude is a walking target. People see him and they are more terrified than I could ever explain. And this is silver and under. Everyone hates this guy and they will go out of their way to kill him. Use that to your advantage. Then we have 3-drops where this is just a Solari Sentinel. Pretty straightforward. She just creates a darkness in your hand if you don't have one. Very much like Dark Bulb. There's a lot of options to get darkness because until Vigar gets leveled up, you won't get one every single round. But also, Senna can get one when she attacks, but we'll talk about that later. But in the early game, you have to have a lot of options to get darkness, because if you do get Vigar out there, it's going to be racking up damage. So it's just free kills. Like, it's free cards to use. You should really try to utilize them as best you can, because that's how you'll win games. Was it Stilted Roadmaker? Decreases the cost of darkness by 1. Theoretically, you can get to be 0, which is awesome. The most I've ever done is 1. Because at that point, if you do 0, you probably have something better to play. I've never been in a situation where I was like, yeah, let's go with 0. Right? This is what... No. Generally, 1 is good enough. Tenor of Terror. This is such a crucial card in this deck. And the reason for it is because if you played a created card or you killed him with a spell this game, you get to summon a 3/2 also. That means in like this mid game, you can play a second blocker for the cost of 1, which is a lot more helpful in game saving than you would think. So this is such a great card. I'm glad they added such an annoying Yordle card also. A lot of people have been using them for every Yordle, and it's so funny, but I agree, it's just ridiculous. Vygar. Here's Vygar. When you summon him, you get a darkness. Then every round start, you get +1 damage on darkness everywhere. Then, after you dealt 12 damage, he flips. Now you get a darkness every round, and then it can target anything. And so that's the only things that got added. And this is what makes the deck super strong, because there's a lot of great things you can do with this later in the game. There's a lot of ways you have to be careful how you play Vygar, because you have to know what they're trying to do. You want to play Vygar so you can at least get 1 bonus damage before they kill him. And that's really just because if you play him, they kill him, you really didn't get the benefit of Vygar. Because gaining Darkness to dealing 3 damage is pretty much really important to get above 2. Because 2 is weak, right? It's just weak. They made that intentional. It takes care of some 3-2s, but after that, you have 2 3s, you have 4 3s, and this is when it starts to scale up. You need to hit 3 and 4 so you can actually start trading and killing a lot of followers and maybe even champions. So just be careful how you play Vygar. He's very critical. If you do get Vygar, if you do play Vygar in the game, you need to make sure that he's going to live at least 1 round. Good tip. Senna. Senna is when I'm summoned or attacks, create darkness in hand. If you don't have one, all of your slow spells have fast. Now, if she kills 3 or now like Lucian dies, she just then becomes, I think it's the exact same thing, but now all your fast spells cost 1 less, which obviously makes darkness cost 1 less, and this is why I've never gone under 1, because at this point it's like, okay, like literally, like I have Senna, I don't need to go 0 that desperately. Senna is not as crucial as Vygar. Vygar increases the damage, she just speeds it up. Speeding up has a lot of advantages and great opportunities to outplay your opponent, because throughout this whole game before her, everyone's been treating your darkness as a slow. You can now treat it as fast. And this messes up with a lot of people. There's a lot of sly stuff you can do with the stack, so then they try to go kill Senna, and then you can kill them. There's a great ways to do this. You can outburn a lot of burn decks, because they'll put all their burn to kill you, and then you can hit them with darkness in the face if you have a level up Vygar. Very great addition to this deck, and it's the reason why I thought this deck was going to be super good. It's because Vygar allows you to hit face and increase damage, and then she accelerates it, so then you can actually beat a lot of burn decks at their own game. But a lot of people don't believe me, but this deck did go into Worlds and did pretty good, so I have some pros backing me. Next, we have Untitled Sentinel, which is exactly what I would like to say about Vygar Senna combo. She enables it even more, and this is where the late game becomes incredible. She gives you a darkness, and then the next darkness you play, it's created a duplicate targeting the Nexus. So if you have a level up Vygar, you can double target the Nexus, and this is where like the deck kind of comes in, and its early game is super incredible, because if you get them low enough, you could one-shot them with this, and that's awesome. Because the game is over in a flash, and that's kind of what makes her super good. And she also has lifesteal, which is a lot more important than you might think. Because she's a good reason why you can take a lot more damage early on and just say, you know what, I'll be fine. I'm planning to play her later on. We'll try to get some health. And so she's a really good card also. Piercing Darkness is a decent card. Am I in love with it? By no means I am. But Drain 5 from unit is very useful, and probably more so than you would think. Very pivotal card, and it's a good removal card. I thought about taking this out to get a simple kill spell, and then I was like, nah, we'll just add 3 of them already. And the reason why I added Vengeance is literally just because hard removal is really important when you don't have Vygar out increasing the damage consistently. So sometimes you need to just kill something, get it off the board, and try to move forward with the game. A good example of this is Scion. Scion is such an annoying card to deal with this deck because you can't really burn him and not take damage. So if you kill him, his after he's leveled up, his double's a 10-4. That is summoned and rallies. Then you can burn that pretty easily. You just need to do 2 bonus damage. That's pretty easily done if you have the 3/2 and Vigar +1 turn. You can easily stop something like Scion, and that's where this card really comes into play, is dealing with these big threats that are just super annoying. You can do the reverse against Tryndamere. Get rid of him, burn, and then kill. But that's just the deck. That's how it runs. It's super strong. I'm going to bring out more and more content of me playing with these decks because I've actually had time to really grow these decks into a more of a final and finished product. And now, the secret weapon. If you're here this long, congratulations, you get to know the secret card. Because if you're paying attention, there's 38. This is the last 2, and this is probably the big win condition that a lot of people didn't consider, is that you get a darkness, and then it costs 0 and deals 2 to all enemies. This card is essentially the late game drop that Darkness needed, and I was surprised that they gave. Because this is pretty pivotal to the whole deck as a whole. Because late game, if you're behind, turn 8, you could drop her and wipe the field, essentially. And that's super important when you're taking damage, trying to keep your units alive, so you can do this massive trade. And that's why it's super important to have her in this deck. You could definitely take her out. I'm not going to say anything. She's just a very good late game insurance that people should keep. I haven't found anything better than her. And so things might come out later that could replace her. There's a lot of cards in this deck, sure, that if they release stuff, there could be better stuff, right? But ideally, this is the Darkness deck. They just released it. This is the best innovation of it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This is going to be a super good deck for you to play with. Catch you later.